All right, let's get started now drawing out the dynamic shape gesture of this particular model over here. And the best place to start is to always start with the head. We'll just kind of put an ellipse in there to get the head shape in. Nothing more complex than that. We're keeping things very energy, directional flow focused. And then establishing the line of action, right? Establishing the primary line of action. So in this character, it's something like that, right? Establishing the primary line of action. And then what we can do to further help us even more is establish the eye line, the shoulder line, it's about here, the pelvic line, and the knee line. We don't really want to do that because we don't have a good guide on the line of action here for that. But that's okay, we'll get those in, no problem. So now we can see we've used horizontal tilts to help us determine these angles, which is great. It's a good way to help us measure where we should then put our dynamic shapes, as well as using our opposing curves on those dynamic shapes. So now we have the head in, the primary action line, and the horizontal tilts that we've marked out. We can then proceed to draw in those very basic shapes. So I'm going to start with the arm here. And I always find drawing the forearm works best for me. So this would be this type of shape. And as I do this, I want to reiterate, this is really not about anatomical drawing, right? We're grabbing the energy flow of the gesture. That's what you want to be thinking about. We're grabbing the energy flow of the gesture and using these directional shapes to help us get this gesture to read well. So there I'm using that there, and I will oppose that as we come down here for that arm. As for the hands and the feet, usually you can just indicate them to some extent here. It's not very important to spend too much time trying to get little details on the hands and things like that, especially when you're drawing at this scale. I wouldn't even worry necessarily about the neck that much. I'm just going to put in an opposing curve there. Following my line of action, I'm going to determine what the directional flow is of her chest area. Stomach area is something like that. And then her pelvis, sort of here, like that. Poses, opposes, opposes, just checking myself. And then I'm going to draw in the legs. Let's start with the front leg here. I shouldn't say the legs. I should say rather that I'm going to draw in the directional shape, the directional flow, the energy flow of the legs. All right. And I'm going to oppose that. And look at how rough I'm being. You know, this is not supposed to be pretty, beautiful art. And I want you to feel the exact same way about it. We're here to learn. We're busy grabbing the energy flow out of the pose. And once we've grasped this, we can then move on to more advanced topics. So my scaling is a little bit off, but it's not the end of the world. The bulk of it is that the bulk of the gesture has been grabbed. The pose has been grabbed. Could you ask maybe a 5 or a 6-year-old, hey, could you copy the pose of this drawing of mine? They probably could, because they can see the gesture and they understand the gesture. And so this is what we want to be doing. And so here, once again, we started with the head. And it's always a great starting point. You can start with any part that you wish, but starting with the head is great. We then defined the line of action. And then we defined our horizontal tilts, our horizontal axes. Generally building them on the action line, and we've put on the head there as well, helps us to get that angle. So here are the shoulders and the pelvis. And then we've started to use our directional shapes and opposing curves theory on that, opposing the curves of each side, to get our 2D directional flow gestures in, our dynamic shape gestures. All right. And the curves oppose each other. You can see here how they oppose throughout the form. And that effectively is 2D dynamic shape gestures, right? Dynamic shape gestures. Once again, it's not anatomy. We're not trying to draw the anatomy. We definitely want to get proportions as close as we can, but we want to grab the energy, the flow of energy. If you could imagine energy flowing through the form, that's what we want to grab. And we want to get efficient at doing this, and we want to be able to do it very quickly. And I would say, certainly while this lesson has been long for the purpose of teaching, that you want to try and get this done in 60 seconds. And I'm not even kidding. Get it done in 60 seconds. Head. Okay, where's the head? Line of action. Boom. Pop the line of action. Okay, awesome. Where the horizontal tilts? Okay, boom, boom, boom. Done. Okay, we're in like 20 seconds. Yeah. Okay, cool. And directional shape for the chest. Directional shape for the stomach. Directional shape for the pelvis. And then boom, just popping those shapes in. Because these shapes, they really don't take long to draw that type of shape or that type of shape. Right? And be loose, be messy. I encourage you, please don't spend time on this. Be very quick, make it messy. Just make sure that when you're done, the gesture reads very similarly to the original. You go, okay, yes, I could probably replicate the pose of my drawing. All right, those are dynamic shape gestures. Let's move on to the next lesson.